Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're all doing great and welcome to another episode of SQL for Data Analysis. Are you guys as excited as I am? Because today we're going to dive straight into the real work. Yes, now it's time to jump into some coding. So far we've gotten familiar with some key definitions and MySQL Workbench dashboard, but as a data analyst, the first things that we need is a database to analyze and pull insight from that, right? For today's episode, we're going to work on a sample database, which I made with a little help from ChatGPT. It's really simplified, smaller database with just a few rows and columns. So don't worry, it's not as overwhelming as a real company's data. I've also put the download link in the video description. Go ahead and download that and follow along with me. Now, there are basically two ways to work with the database on MySQL Workbench, right? So the first, you can actually create a new one from scratch, like I showed you in the previous episode. In the menu bar, there are some buttons. You can create a new database and create a new table and assign it to that. Or you'll be given a pre-existing SQL database by the company, and your job is to import and analyze that. In this episode, we're going to import a prepared SQL database, which I've already made. I'm going to show you step by step how to import that, how to read that code, and how they all work. Let's check it out. So this is our new blank project in MySQL. So we're gonna start creating our new database. And like I told you in the last episode, to create a new database, you can go ahead and click on this button. Then it's gonna ask you for a name, and you should create a new table and assign that table to your database. Well, we want to be familiar with coding as well. We want to see how we can create a new database with coding, right? Okay, so let's close that. And then, as I said to you at the beginning of this video, I made a prepared SQL database, which I'm gonna import that on my SQL Workbench. So we're gonna go ahead and click on this button. Then it's gonna ask you for a file to be imported. So this is our database, datamines.sql. This is the format of SQL database. I put the download link in the video description so you can download this database. I'm gonna import that. And after importing it, you're gonna see a bunch of codes in your query editor. Okay, so I'm gonna explain to you and interpret to you each line is about and each line does for you. It's really simple, don't worry about. You're gonna be fully familiar with this coding after watching this video. Okay, so the first line is a comment, right? It says create the database. So like I told you in the last episode, if you're gonna make a line comment, you have to put 2 dashes before the line. Then it's gonna make a line comment, right? And guys, the first command and SQL statement that we need to create our database is create database. See that it's really simple. It's like a simple English. And it's not like C++ or PHP. We should only write create database. And the name and the word after that is our database name, right? So we call it data mines. So a database is like a container where you can store your data, right? And each database can have multiple tables, which I'm gonna explain to you. So the next line, which is a comment, it says use the newly created database. And the next command is use data mines. Guys, if I'm speaking very slowly, you can increase the speed of this video because I'm gonna make sure everyone is gonna understand what I'm gonna say. So what this is for? After creating data mines database, this tells the system to use it, meaning that everything that we want to write down, any comments you see, for example, create table is one of the SQL commands or insert into, will be applied to this database. Like we're connecting everything that we want to write down, any query, everything will be applied and implemented to this database, which we called it data mines, right? So we wrote a use data mines, and then we need to create table for our database. So the next comment says create a customers table. So the comment that we need in order to create a table is create table. So we call it customers. And it's like a spreadsheet that has some rows and columns, but these are the columns, right? These like a customer ID or first name and last name. These are our columns. So this is our table's name, and everything that you can see inside this parentheses are going to be our columns. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 columns for this table. So the first one is customer ID, and it has three columns definitions, and I'm going to explain to you what these are for. So the first one is int. Int or ints stands for integer, right? So integer is one of the data types, which I'm going to explain to you in the next episode, all data types in SQL and what each does for you and what each is about. But integer is one of the data types, meaning that the column will store whole numbers with no decimals. And in the context of customer ID, each customer will be assigned a unique number and will start from 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 goes up like 100 or 1000 customers ID. So we have another thing, auto increments. And what is auto increment? So this means that the value of this column will automatically increase by 1 for each new row that is added to the table. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by auto increment? I mean, for example, when a new customer is added, you don't have to manually assign a customer ID number. The database will automatically give them the next available number, right? So it will start from 1, 2, 3, 4, and when the new customer or new user is added to your table, the database will automatically assign a new number and the next available number to your customer ID. And we have another thing, which is primary key, right? So primary key tells the database that the customer ID is the unique identifier for each row in the table. So meaning that no two rows can have the same customer ID, right? So it will start from 1 and no two rows have the same customer ID. So next column is first name, which is assigned by varchar. So varchar again is another data type. And so what does varchar do for you? So varchar stands for variable character and is a data type in SQL that is used to store text or string data. It can hold letters, numbers, special characters. And you can see that we specified a number inside this parenthesis, which is 50. So it means that it can hold 50 characters within your first name rows, right? And next column is last name, is as the same as first name column. We have email column, phone column, address, but address, you can see specifically this one assigned to 255 characters for address, because obviously address is going to be more characters. So we have country, we have item purchased, and age, and we assigned age column to integer, which I told you that integer is one of the data types that it can hold anything like number, character, special characters. So we have price column. So this stores the price of the item they purchase, our customers purchased. So it's a decimal number and it can go up to 10 digits and it has two numbers next to it. So the first one is 10, meaning that it can go up to 10 digits with 2 digits after the decimal points, like 1,000, like 1,020 cent dollar, like something like this, right? Okay, after creating our table and making some new columns with the specific data type with numbers, we need to insert some data into our table, right? So the next line, it's a comment says it's insert sample data into a customer's table. It has 10 rows, and the command that we need in order to insert our data into our table is insert into. And next to it, we need to specify our table's name, which is customers. And we should bring every column's name based on the order that we defined in the table, right? So next one, so the first one is first name. So we brought first name, last name, email, phone, address, country, item purchase, age, price, exactly the same order that we defined in our table, right? And the next word that we need to write is values. So you can see that the values are in the same order as the columns that we defined earlier. So we have first name and then we define a value for this row. So John Doe, email, phone number, address, country, item purchase, age, and price that they purchased, right? And the question is how we should insert our values to our table. So every value and each value has to be put inside apostrophe or quotation mark and then comma and then the next value. this is going to like a structure of inserting values into your table, right? So as you can see, we have 10 rows for this table. Okay, so now we are done. So we actually made a full table for our database. And if you scroll down, you're going to see that again, we have another table with some new columns, and we specified some values for these columns for this table. And we have another table with some values, and again, another table. And these are other tables for this database, and we're done. So we can actually start importing our database and see what we get as a database in the schema tab. Okay, so simply you have to press this button, then it's going to show you a successful message, meaning that your importing status is successful. And once you refresh this tab, it's going to show you data mines database, and it has some parts like tables, view, stored procedures, and functions. But in the tables section, if you press on that, you're going to see our tables. So the first one is best countries and best selling cars 2024. These are the tables. And the customer table that we were talking about, this is like we were talking about. So how we can see our table, just right click and select rows limit to 1000 rows. And then you're going to see this is our table. This is our customers table. So this is our table. As you saw in our SQL code, it has customer ID, first name, last name, email, phone, address, country, item purchase, age, and price. So this is our customers table that assigned to data mines database. But what you can see right now in the query editor, it says select everything. If I'm going to interpret this line of code, select everything, meaning that all columns from data mines database and point from customers table. So if we were going to see one of our tables from the database, simply we should write this exact line. Or let's say we want to see, for example, products table. So we should simply write select, meaning that we're selecting what? So we are selecting all columns. So this is star mark, meaning that we're selecting our columns from where? From what database? So from data mines database, and then we should press point. So what table we are looking for? So we are looking for products table, right? We should simply write products, and we selected products table from data mines database in order to see the full table with all values and columns name. So like I told you, these are tables that assigned to data mines database, and this is what you learn, how we can actually import and make our table visible from selected database. So you need to write this exact line. And now I'm going to ask you a drill as a homework. So all you have to do, just make a database with a table with some columns. Just follow exactly what I did in this video. You can actually create a new database and use your database, and then create some new columns for your table, and then just make some random and sample data in order to insert your data to your table. And after making your first database with the columns and rows, just let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to provide you with the online place where you can upload your homework, and I'm going to definitely get happy when I see your progress. All right, so that's all for now. So we made our first database. We made our table. We actually inserted our values to our table, and you've learned everything about creating database, creating table, creating rows and columns for your table. And from the next episode, we're going to start learning all data types in SQL and how each works and how each does for you and how each is about. Take care. See you in the next one.